Welcome to Lost at 3 AM. Put your phone down, close your eyes, and let this be the last video you hear tonight. Relax, breathe, and let's begin. Tonight, we step into the unpredictable, chaotic, and wildly entertaining world of Deadpool, the Merc with a mouth, the fourth wall-breaking anti-hero, and one of the most unique characters in comic book history. He's not your typical superhero. He's not even your typical anti-hero. Deadpool exists in a category all his own. A walking, talking contradiction of comedy and tragedy, brutality and absurdity, self-awareness and complete unpredictability. On the surface, he's a wisecracking mercenary with an endless supply of one-liners, a love for excessive violence, and a complete disregard for the rules of reality. But underneath the mask, there's a broken man. A former soldier turned mercenary named Wade Wilson, whose life took a devastating turn when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. An experimental treatment gave him a miraculous healing factor, but left him physically and mentally scarred, transforming him into the unkillable, unhinged force of nature we know today. Deadpool is unlike any other character in comics. He knows he's in a story, regularly breaks the fourth wall, and doesn't just exist inside his fictional universe. He mocks it, bends it, and sometimes completely rewrites it. He's fought alongside and against Marvel's biggest heroes, from Spider-Man to Wolverine, from Cable to Thanos, and yet he's never truly played by the rules. Over the next few minutes, we'll dive into Deadpool's origins, powers, most iconic moments, and his journey from obscure comic book character to Hollywood superstar. We'll explore his greatest triumphs, his darkest moments, and the ridiculous adventures that only Deadpool could pull off. So sit back, try not to get stabbed or shot, and get ready to meet the most unpredictable, inappropriate, and endlessly entertaining character Marvel has ever created. Let's begin. Before Deadpool became one of the most iconic and beloved anti-heroes in comic book history, he started as something very different. A straight-up villain, designed to be nothing more than a mercenary with a bad attitude and a cool costume. Deadpool made his first appearance in New Mutants Hash 98 in 1991, created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza. At the time, the comic book world was obsessed with tough, mysterious assassins, and Liefeld, who loved designing characters with big weapons and flashy costumes, pitched Deadpool as Marvel's answer to Deathstroke, a deadly assassin from DC Comics. In fact, his original design and name was so similar to Deathstroke, real name Slade Wilson, that Nicieza immediately pointed it out. The solution? Give him a personality that was completely different from anything else in comics. And so, Deadpool was born, not just as a deadly mercenary, but as a wisecracking, fourth wall-breaking, completely unpredictable force of chaos. At first, Deadpool was written as a serious villain, a no-nonsense hitman with superhuman agility, strength, and expert combat skills. But as time went on, writers started to lean into his unpredictability, his dark humor, and his complete disregard for the rules of storytelling. He wasn't just fighting heroes anymore. He was mocking the entire concept of superhero comics while still being part of them. One of the biggest turning points for Deadpool came when Joe Kelly took over writing duties in 1997. Kelly's run on Deadpool redefined the character, turning him into the morally flexible, hyperactive, and self-aware anti-hero that fans love today. It was here that Deadpool's tragic backstory, mental instability, and constant battle between heroism and selfishness were fully fleshed out. He wasn't just a joke character. He was a man struggling with pain, loneliness, and a desperate need to find purpose, even if he covered it up with humor. From that point forward, Deadpool was no longer just another assassin in Marvel's massive roster of mercenaries. He was one of a kind, a character who could jump between hilarious, absurd, and deeply emotional moments in a way no other superhero could. What started as a Deathstroke ripoff had now evolved into something completely original. A character who didn't just break the fourth wall, but smashed through it with a rocket launcher. And that was just the beginning. Before he became Deadpool, Before the red suit, the endless one-liners, and the complete disregard for reality, he was just Wade Wilson, a man with a past full of violence, bad decisions, and even worse luck. Wade Wilson's story isn't a simple one. Unlike many superheroes with a clear origin, his past is a jumbled mess of unreliable memories, conflicting backstories, and outright contradictions, and that's completely intentional. Depending on which version of the story you believe, Wade was either a former Special Forces soldier, a government-trained assassin, or just a guy who got in way over his head in the mercenary world. The only thing that remains constant? He was always a smartass, a loose cannon, and a man who never really fit anywhere. His life took a dark turn when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Facing certain death, Wade was offered a miracle cure, a chance to survive by participating in an experimental procedure as part of the Weapon X program, the same program that created Wolverine. What happened next was not what he expected. The procedure gave him an extreme healing factor, allowing him to regenerate from nearly any injury, but it came at a terrible cost. His cancer didn't go away. Instead, it was accelerated and controlled by his new abilities, leaving his body permanently scarred and his mind shattered. His face, once normal, became a horrific mess of burns, scars and tumors, something so disturbing that even the most hardened mercenaries winced at the sight of him. But the worst part wasn't just his appearance, it was what happened to his mind. Whether it was due to the Weapon X experiments, the constant trauma, or just who Wade had always been underneath it all, his grip on reality started to slip. He became unpredictable, unstable, and completely detached from the normal rules of storytelling. His mind jumped between personalities, voices, and realities, often arguing with himself or even acknowledging that he was in a comic book. This transformation didn't make Wade a hero. If anything, it made him more dangerous, more reckless, and more willing to embrace the chaos of his own existence. But it also freed him. Without rules, without limitations, Wade Wilson became something new, something completely original. He wasn't a superhero. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't even a traditional antihero. He was just Deadpool. And from that moment on, the Marvel Universe would never be the same. Every superhero has a defining ability. Wolverine has his claws and healing factor. Spider-Man has his web-slinging agility. And the Hulk has his unstoppable rage. But Deadpool? His greatest power isn't his superhuman healing or his combat skills. It's the fact that he knows he's in a story. Deadpool is one of the only characters in comic book history who fully understands that he's fictional. He doesn't just talk to other characters. He talks to the audience, the writers, the artists, and even the editors. He reads his own thought boxes, argues with the captions, and breaks every rule of storytelling that comics are supposed to follow. This isn't just a gimmick, it's what makes Deadpool completely unique. While other characters struggle with life or death situations, Deadpool often stops mid-fight to make a joke about the script, call out plot holes, or complain about the artist's drawing style. He'll rip through pages, comment on the way his own dialogue is written, and even reference events from other Marvel stories as if he's been reading them just like we have. One of the best examples of this comes from Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, where he realizes that he's just a character in a comic book and goes on a rampage, killing every major Marvel hero and villain just to break free from his own story. It's dark, brutal, and a perfect showcase of just how dangerous Deadpool's self-awareness really is. In the movies, this ability is just as iconic. Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool doesn't just break the fourth wall, he smashes through it like it's made of paper, from joking about his failed version in X-Men Origins. Wolverine to calling out Fox Studios for not affording more X-Men cameos. Deadpool constantly reminds us that we're watching a movie, and he has no intention of playing by the usual superhero rules. What makes this so brilliant is that it gives Deadpool complete creative freedom. He can jump between tones, going from ridiculous to darkly serious in a matter of seconds. He can mock the Marvel Universe while still being a part of it. and he can break every expectation the audience has, simply because he knows he's in on the joke and no one else is. Other superheroes might have super strength or laser vision, but Deadpool's real power is that he can rewrite the rules of his own existence whenever he wants. And that makes him completely unpredictable, endlessly entertaining, and absolutely impossible to control. Deadpool might look like just another masked mercenary, but make no mistake, he's one of the most dangerous, unpredictable, and nearly unkillable characters in the Marvel Universe. His skill set is a combination of superhuman abilities, expert combat training, and a complete disregard for personal safety, making him a nightmare for anyone who crosses him. At the core of his powers is his healing factor, a gift or curse he received from the Weapon X program. Unlike Wolverine's controlled regeneration, Deadpool's healing is completely unhinged. He can survive gunshots, explosions, stabbings, decapitation, and even full-body disintegration, only to reform, stitch himself back together, or grow back missing limbs. There's no logical limit to how much damage he can take, which means killing him is almost impossible. But his healing comes with a cost. His cancer and regeneration are locked in an eternal battle, constantly breaking down and rebuilding his body at the same time. This means he's functionally immortal, but permanently scarred and disfigured. His face, his skin, and even his organs are in a constant state of decay and regeneration, which makes him look like, as he once put it, a testicle with teeth. Beyond his healing, Deadpool is a master assassin and combat expert. He's highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat, swordplay, and marksmanship, making him lethal even against superpowered enemies. He's taken down entire armies of trained killers, fought toe-to-toe with Wolverine and Spider-Man, and even held his own against cosmic-level threats like Thanos. His unpredictability in a fight is what makes him so dangerous, because even he doesn't know what he's going to do next. Then there's his insanity, which, strangely enough, is one of his greatest weapons. His fractured mind and lack of fear make him completely immune to psychic attacks, since his thoughts are so chaotic that telepaths like Professor X and Emma Frost can't even make sense of them. His unpredictability confuses even the most experienced fighters, making it nearly impossible to anticipate his next move. And of course, there's his fourth wall-breaking ability, which, while not a physical power, gives him something far more valuable than super strength or flight: awareness. Deadpool knows he's in a story, which means he can use meta-knowledge, joke about plot armor, and even exploit the rules of the Marvel Universe itself. Put all of this together, and you have a character who is nearly unstoppable, completely unhinged, and an absolute nightmare for anyone who tries to take him down. He's not the strongest hero, the smartest, or the most powerful, but he doesn't need to be. His insanity, combat skills, and immortality make him one of the most unpredictable and dangerous figures in the entire Marvel Universe. Deadpool has had some of the wildest, funniest, and most ridiculously violent storylines in comic book history. Unlike other heroes who follow traditional arcs of growth and redemption, Deadpool's stories swing between pure comedy, extreme violence, and surprisingly emotional depth, making him one of the most unpredictable characters in Marvel's roster. One of the most infamous Deadpool stories is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. In this dark and twisted alternate reality, Deadpool becomes fully aware that he's a fictional character trapped in an endless cycle of storytelling, so he does the only logical thing. He murders every single Marvel hero and villain to free himself. No one is safe. Not the X-Men, not Spider-Man, not even the gods of the Marvel Universe. This story showcases just how dangerous Deadpool can be when he fully embraces his insanity. And the best part, it ends with him breaking into the real world, confronting the writers and implying that he's coming for the readers next. Then there's the good, the bad, and the ugly, one of Deadpool's most unexpectedly emotional and heartbreaking arcs. This storyline dives deep into his painful past, revealing that Weapon X wasn't the only government experiment that ruined his life. It follows Deadpool as he teams up with Wolverine and Captain America to take down a secret facility conducting horrific experiments on people using Deadpool's stolen DNA. It's a rare story that strips away the jokes and reveals the deep trauma and sadness buried beneath his usual wisecracks. It's proof that while Deadpool may laugh through everything, his pain is very, very real. Another must-read is Cable and Deadpool, a long-running series that pairs Deadpool with Cable, the time-traveling mutant soldier. The dynamic between these two is perfect. Cable is the ultra-serious, no-nonsense warrior trying to save the future, while Deadpool is a chaotic disaster who can't take anything seriously. Their reluctant partnership leads to some of the funniest and most action-packed moments in Deadpool's history, proving that even someone as unpredictable as Deadpool can find an actual friend. Of course, we can't forget Deadpool versus Thanos, a story so ridiculous that it somehow makes perfect sense. In this bizarre but hilarious arc, Deadpool finds himself in a cosmic love triangle with Thanos, over Death herself. Since Death is literally a cosmic entity in the Marvel universe, both Deadpool and Thanos are in love with her. What follows is a battle across space, reality, and time, where Deadpool takes on the Mad Titan himself in a fight that's as absurd as it is epic. And then there's Deadpool kills Deadpool, the ultimate meta showdown. In this storyline, Deadpool goes on a mission to eliminate every other version of himself across the multiverse. He fights evil Deadpool, Kid Deadpool, Dogpool, and even Headpool, who is literally just a zombified Deadpool head with helicopter blades attached. It's pure Deadpool insanity at its finest. What makes these stories so great isn't just the humor or the action, it's the fact that Deadpool's comics can go anywhere, do anything, and break every rule. One moment he's cracking jokes, the next he's in a brutally emotional storyline that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about him. Deadpool isn't just a joke character. He's one of the most versatile, unpredictable, and entertaining figures in all of Marvel Comics. And whether he's saving the world, destroying it, or just making fun of it, one thing is certain: his stories are never, ever boring. For years, Deadpool was one of those comic book characters that seemed impossible to bring to the big screen. His meta-humor, brutal violence, and complete disregard for storytelling rules made him a risky character for Hollywood to tackle. But there was one person who never gave up on him: Ryan Reynolds. Reynolds first played Deadpool in X-Men Origins, Wolverine back in 2009, but to say that version of Deadpool was a disaster would be an understatement. The character was completely butchered, stripped of his humor, given laser eyes and swords that came out of his arms, and worst of all, his mouth was sewn shut. The Merc with a mouth was literally silenced. Fans were furious, and so was Reynolds. He knew this wasn't Deadpool, and he spent the next several years fighting to do the character justice. Then, in 2014, everything changed. A leaked test footage clip of a properly written, fully realised Deadpool, played by Reynolds, surfaced online, and fans went crazy for it. The response was so overwhelmingly positive that Fox had no choice but to greenlight the movie, leading to the release of Deadpool in 2016. The film was an instant hit, proving that R-rated superhero movies could be massively successful. It embraced everything that made Deadpool great: the fourth wall breaking, the self-aware humor, the ultra-violence, and the completely unfiltered dialogue. It wasn't just a great superhero film, it was a Deadpool film, through and through. Ryan Reynolds was born to play this role. His delivery, his timing, his ability to switch between comedy and serious moments in an instant, it was perfect. He didn't just act as Deadpool, he was Deadpool, and fans knew it. The movie was packed with brilliant jokes, from mocking his own failed version in X-Men Origins, Wolverine, to roasting Fox Studios for not affording more X-Men cameos, to making fun of the fact that Ryan Reynolds was also Green Lantern. Then came Deadpool 2 in 2018, which somehow managed to go even bigger while still staying true to what made the first film work. This time, Deadpool was thrown into a ridiculous team-up with Cable, played by Josh Brolin, and Domino, played by Zazie Beetz. The film introduced the X-Force only to kill them off in one of the funniest sequences in superhero movie history. Despite its over-the-top humour and absurd action sequences, Deadpool 2 also delivered genuinely emotional moments, proving that Deadpool wasn't just a joke character, he actually had depth. And now, Deadpool is officially joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Deadpool 3. Not only that, but it's bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, something that fans thought would never happen. This means that Deadpool, the character who constantly made fun of the X-Men, Marvel, and every studio mistake imaginable, is now officially part of the same universe as the Avengers, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. Deadpool's journey from failed movie experiment to Hollywood's most successful R-rated superhero is one of the greatest redemption stories in cinema history. And through it all, one thing has remained true. Ryan Reynolds is, and always will be, Deadpool. Deadpool isn't just one of the most unpredictable characters in comic book history, he's also one of the funniest. His stories, whether in comics or movies, are filled with absurdity, chaos, and moments that leave audiences questioning whether they just witnessed genius or complete nonsense. One of his most ridiculous moments comes in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, a comic book storyline where Deadpool becomes fully self-aware and realizes that he's trapped in an endless cycle of stories. Instead of accepting his fate, he decides to break free the only way he knows how, by killing every single hero and villain in the Marvel Universe. He takes down Spider-Man, wipes out the Avengers, and even finds a way to eliminate cosmic entities like the Watcher. And when he's done with that, he breaks into the real world, tracks down the writers and artists of his own comic, and prepares to kill them too. It's dark, hilarious, and the perfect example of Deadpool's complete disregard for the rules of storytelling. But his madness isn't just limited to comics. The movies have given us some of the most absurd and brilliant Deadpool moments ever put on screen. In Deadpool 2, there's the infamous baby legs scene, where, after being torn in half by Juggernaut, Deadpool begins the process of regenerating his lower half. Unfortunately, his healing factor takes its time, leaving him stuck with tiny, childlike legs, while he casually lounges around the apartment, horrifying everyone in the room. It's deeply unsettling, completely unnecessary, and absolutely unforgettable. Another standout moment comes from the first Deadpool film, when he breaks the fourth wall to comment on the movie's budget constraints. When he arrives at the X mansion and sees only Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, he immediately points out that, for a giant school filled with mutants, it's strange that only two ever seem to be home. With a smirk, he wonders if it has something to do with Fox not wanting to spend money on more X-Men cameos. It's a joke that only Deadpool could make, and it perfectly highlights his ability to call out the movie he's in while still being part of it. And then, of course, there's the X-Force sequence in Deadpool 2, one of the most brilliantly executed bait and switches in superhero film history. After assembling a ragtag team of mutants, including the luck-powered Domino, the electricity-wielding Surge, and even a regular guy named Peter, Deadpool sends them into battle on their first mission. Unfortunately, thanks to a poorly planned parachute jump, the entire team, except for Domino, is instantly killed in the most horrific and hilarious ways possible. It's a scene that completely subverts every expectation of a superhero team-up, proving once again that in Deadpool's world, nothing is sacred. Even outside of his own movies and comics, Deadpool has made a habit of being the most unpredictable character in Marvel. He once formed an uneasy alliance with Thanos over their mutual obsession with death. He's been thrown into countless bizarre crossovers, including fights against the Punisher, Venom, and even himself in Deadpool Kills Deadpool, a storyline where he takes on alternate versions of himself from across the multiverse. And then there's the time he hijacked a Christmas special to tell an R-rated holiday story that was somehow even more insane than usual. What makes Deadpool's humour so unique is that it isn't just random jokes or slapstick violence. It's the fact that he is the only character who is fully aware of his own ridiculousness, and he embraces it completely. Whether he's mocking the very structure of superhero storytelling, breaking the fourth wall to call out lazy writing, or taking a joke way too far just because he can. Deadpool's humour is a chaotic force of nature. He isn't just funny, he's a walking, talking parody of everything we know about superheroes, and that's exactly what makes him so unforgettable. Deadpool is unlike any other character in the Marvel Universe. He isn't a traditional hero, nor is he a villain. He isn't even a classic anti-hero. Instead, he exists in his own bizarre space, jumping between comedic parody, brutal mercenary work, and every now and then moments of surprising emotional depth. Despite his chaotic and unpredictable nature, Deadpool has crossed paths with almost every major Marvel character. He has fought alongside and against Wolverine, developing a rivalry that is equal parts admiration and absolute annoyance. He has teamed up with Spider-Man on multiple occasions, forming one of the strangest friendships in Marvel history, with Deadpool constantly trying to impress Peter, while Spidey does his best to keep him at arm's length. He has worked with the X-Men, though his behaviour often leaves them questioning why they let him stick around at all. And then there's Cable, the time-travelling, cybernetic warrior who somehow became Deadpool's closest and most reluctant ally. Their dynamic is a perfect balance of serious and absurd, as Cable tries to complete world-saving missions, while Deadpool does his best to make everything as ridiculous as possible. But while he might interact with the big names of Marvel, Deadpool is always treated as something of an outsider. He doesn't fit into the structured world of superheroes and villains because he doesn't follow the same rules. He doesn't have a grand mission like Captain America, a sense of responsibility like Spider-Man, or even the simple goal of destruction like villains such as Thanos. Instead, Deadpool operates purely on impulse. One day, he might take a contract to assassinate a world leader, and the next, he might be trying to save a kid from a corrupt corporation. His morality shifts depending on his mood, making him one of the few Marvel characters who is truly unpredictable. What makes Deadpool's place in the Marvel Universe even stranger is how aware he is of it. Unlike any other character, he knows that he's in a fictional world. He reads his own comics, acknowledges editorial decisions, and regularly makes fun of the very universe he exists in. While other heroes fight to save reality, Deadpool questions why they're even following the script in the first place. He is the only character who can mock Marvel Studios while still existing within their movies, who can criticize comic book tropes while still being a part of them. And yet, despite all the jokes and all the absurdity, Deadpool isn't just a parody. He is a character with real depth, one who struggles with his own trauma, loneliness, and fractured mind. He hides behind humour, but underneath the wisecracks, he is someone who desperately wants to belong, even if he never truly will. Deadpool isn't a hero, and he's not a villain. He's something entirely different, a wild card, a force of chaos, a walking contradiction who somehow manages to be one of the most entertaining, compelling, and strangely human characters in the entire Marvel Universe. Deadpool has already carved out a place as one of the most unique, hilarious, and unpredictable characters in comic book and film history. But his journey is far from over. With Deadpool 3 on the horizon, the Merc with a mouth is about to enter a whole new playing field, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is something that for years seemed impossible. Deadpool has always operated in his own space, existing on the fringes of Marvel's storytelling. The X-Men films were separate from the Avengers, and Deadpool was very much off in his own chaotic little world, making fun of the fact that Fox Studios couldn't afford more cameos. But with Disney's acquisition of Fox, everything has changed. For the first time ever, Deadpool will officially be part of the same universe as Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Spider-Man. And knowing Deadpool, he won't be able to resist making fun of all of them. The biggest and most exciting news about Deadpool 3 is that it's bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. This is a crossover that fans have been dreaming about for years. Deadpool and Wolverine have one of the most chaotic and hilarious rivalries in Marvel Comics, and now we're finally going to see them face off on the big screen. Whether they're fighting side by side or trying to kill each other, one thing is certain. This will be one of the most entertaining superhero pairings in movie history. But the bigger question is how Deadpool will fit into the MCU. He is completely unlike any other Marvel character. While Spider-Man makes the occasional quip, Deadpool shatters the fourth wall, mocks every superhero trope, and refuses to take anything seriously. Will Marvel allow him to continue breaking the rules, calling out plot holes, and openly making fun of the franchise he now belongs to? Or will they try to tone him down to fit into the wider MCU? Fans are hoping that Marvel will let Deadpool stay Deadpool, violent, vulgar, and completely unpredictable. And based on early interviews, it looks like Deadpool 3 will still keep its R rating, meaning Deadpool can continue swearing, slicing, and shooting his way through the story without restrictions. Beyond Deadpool 3, the possibilities are endless. He could team up with Spider-Man, something fans have been begging for. He could terrorize the Avengers, showing up in a post-credit scene just to mess with them. He could jump between multiverses, breaking the fourth wall harder than ever before. He could even become a key figure in Marvel's future big crossover events, adding his own brand of chaos to whatever massive battle comes next. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. Deadpool is here to stay. He's survived bad adaptations, fought his way onto the big screen, and now he's joining the biggest superhero franchise in the world. And if there's one thing we can count on, it's that he will make sure we never take the Marvel Universe too seriously again. Thank you for spending your night with Lost at 3 AM. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you next time.